Hi, I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and I coach people and organizations to play big. Now, let me just start by saying, because we're in the middle of a U.S. presidential election as I record this, I feel compelled to start off by saying what I'm about to talk about at the beginning of this is not designed to be political. I'm just sharing some data that's offered by the government, okay? So if I were to tell you that personal income tax receipts were down by 11%, that corporate income tax receipts are down 16%, excise taxes are down, state income tax revenues increased by the smallest amount in several years, U.S. state personal income taxes fell sharply in the month of April 2016. The federal income tax revenue fell by 17% in June. The job openings fell by 345,000 in May. That there's negative wage growth when adjusted for inflation. That new hiring fell by 474,000 over the past 3 months, the most since March of 2009, which was in the midst of the Great Recession. That, well, I could go on and on. Would you think the economy is good? Probably not. But that's just some of the data that's available if you do a little bit of digging. And if you point to the U.S. stock market as being evidence that there's a robust economy, politely, let me just point out that I think one of the reasons why the stock market is doing well is that there are nations with negative interest rates on savings. So you put $100 in right off the bat, they're taking a piece out. So you don't have $100, you have, let's say, $99. And for wealthy people, they're not going to put up with this crap. They're either going to keep their money in a safe or they're going to invest it in a place where they think they can get a return, which right now is the U.S. stock market. So eventually the impact of this is going to run out and the stock market will start coming down. It happens. I'm, again, not trying to be critical of anyone or anything. This is just some data, and this last thing is an opinion on my part. So the question isn't whether we're going to have a recession, but when we'll have one and what to do to have your best chance to make it through to the other side. So again, not being political here, there's always going to be a recession. So whether Clinton or Trump is elected, it is perceived that the economy has been growing for 7 years. That's considered a long time. Whoever is elected will experience a recession sometime during their watch. What can you do? And the first thing is pay attention to the weather. When I was a young boy, my father would take me to Orchard Beach in the Bronx, and we'd look at the sky for storm clouds and then turn on our portable radio to get a weather report. Yeah, it was a long time ago, and we used portable radios. So like most dads, he was concerned about my well-being and would look in the sky for those clouds. And if the weather report said if it would be a quick passing shower, we plan on riding things out under a tree. If the report indicated thunderstorms, even though the storm might pass quicker than the rain shower, we'd leave the beach and start our long trip back because he didn't think that there was a place that would be safe during a thunderstorm. So if you can't answer the questions, what are the trends in my industry or what are the trends in my field, you're in danger. You're in danger because you're ignorant and oblivious and will eventually be punished for that. So if you have no idea how sales are at your company, what's going on in your field, or how the economy is doing, you'll find yourself in trouble because you won't have any idea of when the boat is taking on water and when it might be ready to sink. So this is pretty common, unfortunately, with too many people, but now isn't the time to be oblivious. Now is the time to start paying attention. Secondly, pay attention to your salary or to your job reviews. Most organizations are going to give employees reviews on a regular basis in an effort to clear the air about where they're satisfied with you and where you can improve. These are messages from management as to how you're seen by others. A review can be the first signal of a problem. In addition, they can provide tremendous support if your manager leaves or is laid off. So I remember a time where a manager I'd helped many times found himself with a predicament. His direct manager, a director with the firm, left for another opportunity just in time for the budget cuts to be evaluated and the staff to be cut. So he bought himself some time meeting with his new boss and offered her his previous 3 performance appraisals as something to consider as she made recommendations for staff cuts. It saved him for a while. It was a bad economy. Eventually, he got caught up in it. Pay attention to your relationship with your boss or manager. Do you like or respect them? If you don't, often the feeling is mutual, since they are often an advisor who winds up getting fired. Who do you think they'll recommend? You or the one they like? Here's a variation on that. Have you noticed a recent chill in your relationship with your boss? Often a chill is a signal of a problem. Sometimes it's a signal of their own worries. Sometimes it's their dissatisfaction. Clear the air. It's necessary, it's critical to nurture your relationship with your manager. Take part in the office rituals, whether it's the birthday parties or the lunches, and be part of the fabric of the office. Don't be the one that everyone talks about, because when they talk about you, it's rarely positive. Also, do you generate revenue or are you an expense item? So if you're a money maker or a cost, you can be a target if you're a cost. I remember a client of mine had a receptionist working for her who was an absolute delight, cheerful about everything, polite, professional, genuinely helpful. And she was saved during recessions. And then there was, the salesperson who had a bad attitude and made them the target for a termination. After all, they could just transfer the clients to someone else, right? Become indispensable. If you're hidden away in a cube, you'll miss out on many of the plum assignments. Come up for air and volunteer for or invite consideration for the work that management is particularly interested in. Ask yourself the question, why should they keep you? This is the basic question that every organization asks themselves when they're evaluating people. I remember being a beginning recruiter working during my first recession, and I started to notice that there were 3 types of employees: people who did things, people who managed people who did things, and people who thought about how things could be done better. The third tends to be the one that they get rid of immediately. They just don't feel it needs to be thought about during these times. They need to generate revenue. So recognize that if you're the one who thinks about performance optimization, you may want to get yourself repositioned into a different area. And lastly, start making sure there's a market for what you do. And if not, this is a good time to adjust. Time and again, I see people who get caught up in recessions. And when they're let go, they forget that their skills are not marketable outside of their current firm. There used to be a time one of my clients had a proprietary programming language that they worked with called, believe it or not, English. It ran on Honeywell computers, just to give you an idea how long ago this was. And if people got let go, there was no market for what they did. All these people got screwed. And eventually the firm changed off of it because no one would come to work there. So understand, you're the CEO of your career. You're responsible for your economics, not your employer. You're responsible for what happens to you, not your employer. Don't let your conditioning to trust them cause you to get bitten in the butt, by corporate plans. Because, when times get tough, you don't want to be the target there. You always need to be proactive and start looking at your skill base and see whether it's marketable to other organizations and how marketable it is. Because, during recessions, number 3s are cut. You don't want to get caught there, and you don't want to be unprepared for the inevitable recession. You always want to be ahead of the game, have marketable skills, do your best to hang on if that's what you really want, but always to have marketable skills. Now, I'll say to you that if you're watching this video, you may need help from me, through JobSearch.Coaching.HQ.com, because that's a site where I help people who may have good skills in doing a job develop the skills to find a job, because those are different than the ones needed to do a job. And I've got great videos, podcasts there. I have all of my books that I've written are there as part of your membership. Articles I've written, guides to different things, all available as part of your membership. Plus, and I think this is the big thing, most people get stuck during their job search, and they rely upon the wrong people for advice. It's bizarre to me that people ask recruiters for an opinion when they're interviewing for a client of theirs. After all, how objective will they be if they've got a $30,000 fee involved? You think they're going to be nice to you and don't take the job, it's awful? No. And of course, the firms that you interview with are no help. And, friends, family members, wives, husband, partners, former managers, they don't really know about finding jobs, even if they've been involved with hiring. They know how to hire for their positions. It may be different for you. So at JobSearch.Coaching.HQ.com, I'm available for questions. So if you're struggling with something, I'll help guide you through. Hope you found this video helpful. Hope you have a great day, and take care.